A natural link profile is when we have a website or blog or whatever where we haven't tangled a lot with backlinks to the site. We haven't contacted a ton of sites to pay them or beg them for linking to our site. So the reason why people do this and why this is important to have these links at all is because the more links to your site, the better rankings in Google. There's just no doubt about it. But it's getting more and more difficult because Google is getting better. They're able to detect more and more little signals and sort of figure out if you have tried to manipulate your link profile, so to speak, by going out and getting people to link to your site. So Google is very clear about this. If you go out and pay for links and you convince people to sort of link to you without there being any editorial reason for them to link to you, they are not a big fan of that. And if they figure out that you did this with their algorithms or maybe with a manual review, they will either index you entirely or just put you way back in the search results. So that's why this is very, very important to know what the natural link profile looks like if you want to build links. But if, like me, you're not building links actively, you don't have to think about this. And this is the great thing about the approach that I have. That's what I think personally, that you don't need to worry about all these things. But I think we should take a look at one of my bigger sites to see exactly what it looks like in terms of these backlinks. Like, who will link to you naturally? What will it look like? What amount of these and these links will you have? Because there's a lot of things that goes into this. So just in a second, I'll move over to my computer screen and show you exactly what it looks like on one of my bigger sites with more than 500,000 page views per month. But stay tuned to after this analysis, because I also have some pretty good things to share with you afterward about link building and about the link profile of your site.
So now we're inside Ahrefs. Ahrefs is one of the more expensive keyword tools and also by far one of the better ones. So I don't use these keyword tools for a lot of things these days, but I do use them to check on backlinks to my site. And of course, you can also do this inside Search Console, as I've showed you a couple of times. So the site here that we're looking at is godownsize.com, one of my bigger sites. And I started this site quite a few years ago, and I did very, very little link building to this site. I started it quite a lot of years ago, and back in the days I did do a little bit of link building, but it's very little. So I would say 98% of the links going to these sites have come naturally, which is also why it's a good example for a site with what we can call a natural link profile, meaning that we haven't bought a ton of links and we haven't tangled with it in any way. So as you can see here first, it gives you sort of this domain rating, which is also called domain authority, of 50. So this is a number between 0 and 100. But let's dive into some overall statistics here. One of the things you want to keep track of is the anchors. And an anchor is just a clever word for what people actually use as the text whenever somebody is linking to you. So that little clickable blue text that people insert in their article in order to link to you. So you can see here that the most linked text, or the most used anchor word here, is no text. And that's because when we're working with a site with a large amount of traffic, like this site here has more than 600,000 page views per month, there'll be a lot of auto-generated content. That means that people grab your RSS feed. It's a little feed where people can see what's written on your site. Or they might just grab some random URL. So this is just created, you can say, automatically around the web. It's bots and scrapers just scraping things. And they will typically link to you in weird ways like this. And then you can see I have 190 domains linking to me with 67 jump in sales. Let's see what that is about. So all these sites here are linking to me with this anchor. And it seems like the vast majority is coming from this site here. Let's just find that here. There it is. So if you click here, you'll be taken to our article here on Go Downsize. So it seems like this site over here has a massive issue with duplicate content, meaning that this same article here is sitting on their site more than 100 times, meaning that all these different URLs has this link to us. And this is probably because it's also used for the snippet on their site, where you can say when you have a category page, you'll typically have a little bit of each article within that category sitting here on the site. And I have a strong feeling that this 67% jump in sales appears in that snippet, or what you want to call it, or maybe they're just pulling the whole article here on the category page. That's something you don't want to do because you'll run into a massive problem with duplicate content. So never do that. Always only show like a few characters when you have this blog roll or a category page or whatever. Let me show you how I do this on Go Downsize here on my site. So if you go to a category here, I'm just showing a little bit of text here for each article. I'm not showing the entire article, which you can absolutely do. And you can set the word count here exactly. So since they pull like almost the whole article or maybe half of the articles, that means that this same text will appear on a ton of different category pages and maybe tag pages and so on. So that's what's happening here. And Google understands this. It's not like it's going to hurt your site because somebody links to you like that. And then we also have the same article here. So it seems like they've been syndicating this same article out to a lot of different other sites. Dream Home Lexington. So here they have the same article again and again and again. And again, it's nothing to worry about. It's just how it is. It's how the internet works, and Google is aware of this. So the next most used word as an anchor is just the dot. And then we see our domain name, Go Downsize in 2 words, Go Downsize like this, and with the www, and so on and so on. So that's something to look for. You want sort of a natural link profile here. You don't want the most linked anchor text to be something like best backpacks for whatever, something that people would do back in the days in order to rank for some really clever terms that they think they can make a lot of money with. So we want to see a well-diversified profile here with people linking with tons and tons of different sentences and words and so on. You can see it goes all the way to 35. Let's just click to any page here and you can just see how it goes on. This one of each. One dude is linking with 21 most common problems with Aston trailers. So they just grabbed the title. It's just a lot of different phrases people are using here, and you can see it's one of each. So this looks super natural because I didn't go out and pay people to link to me with some clever anchor words that I want to rank for. So those are the anchor words. You can also go here and look at the referring domains and see how many times each of these domains are linking to you. And you can sort them again by domain authority or domain rating, as they call it. And you can see that these guys link to us 2 times, 1 time from Pinterest, 1 time from 7 times from Reddit. And you can fold it out here to see how they're linking. So we can also go to this overview page here where you can see a lot of overall statistics. That's pretty interesting as well. So you can see the number of referring domains, and you can see sort of how many of these links are what we call do follow and no follow. So a do follow link is a standard link. It's what we usually do, but you can tag a link with what we call a no follow tag, which means that you don't want to sort of send any value with this link. This is what we should do when we insert affiliate links on our site. And you can also see how many governmental or educational links you have. So they include a little bit more than just the .gov or .eu domains, just sites that Ahrefs consider to also be educational or governmental. And you can see how many .com domains. So that's like 66% is .com, 3% is .net. So all this up here is on a domain level basis. And when we go down here, you can see it on a per backlink basis, meaning that if one site is linking to you 1,000 times, that will show up down here, but only show up once up here. So you can see here the number of do follow links and no follow links. So of course, when you take those together, it'll be 100%. And you can see how many of the links are tagged with sponsored. There's 0 of that. How many are redirects? How many are image links? That's 40%. And that's very natural because I have a pretty good following on Pinterest. So because I have that, people share my images a lot. And that's also in many cases why people link to this site. And we can also see some interesting statistics over here. We can see sort of how many referring links we have, like how quickly were they created. We can see that back in 2013, there was 0 links to the site. That's when we registered the domain. And then it has just been growing like what we can call organically. And then sometimes you'll see a huge spike here or a huge drop. And sometimes this is because Ahrefs is recalculating everything. Sometimes they will sort of clean up their index and remove a lot of spam or include a new type of site or whatever. They'll just calculate it differently. So you'll see these major bumps here being very similar across all major sites. You'll see the same bumps there. But sometimes it'll also just be because there's an increase in web spam. Sometimes some bot networks will just create millions of auto-generated sites. So because machines can do this, and a few guys really can create like millions of websites when they just let computers scrape content and RSS feeds and other technical stuff. So you don't need to think too much about that. But that's very natural. So this is not because that I went out and built like from 1,000 to 4. It's not like I built 400 links over this period of time here. And you can also see how many referring pages. So this is domains and this is pages. And you can also look at the new and lost referring domains. So that's another way to look at these things, to see how many links have we gained and how many links have we lost, so to speak. And then you can see down here where the links are coming from. So to this site, it makes a lot of sense that the majority of the traffic is coming from, again, .com domains, and we have a lot of links from India for some reason, and we have a lot of links from the US, of course, and not so many from Africa and China, which makes sense because we have our traffic from Google and Google is not in China. But really, I'd say 2 things you need to look for here if you're using Ahrefs. This can be if you're buying a website and you want to check that the profile is not too manipulated, but it's rather natural. And also if you want to check it for your own site in case you want to build links, is to check that the links here, especially in the beginning, are coming at a normal pace. So you don't want to see like a huge spike of links in the beginning. You don't want to do too much links to your site in the beginning because that will look very unnatural. And also you want to take a look at the anchors, again, meaning how people are linking to you. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of links up here with best backpack for whatever, best backpack for this, best that, because that's how a very manipulated link profile looks like. I've seen that many times, also on sites that are for sale. That's what an unnatural link profile looks like. When you have a ton of links that's just placed there for you to rank better for those terms. It doesn't work anymore. And then there's a long list of other things you need to check for in case you want to build those links, like I'm not advising you to do. But in case you want to build those links, there are a lot of other things you need to check for and keep an eye out for, which we will look at now. So see you back over in that comfy chair. So now I've shown you what that link profile looked like from a tool like Ahrefs. And that's a very powerful tool and by far one of the best tools to check these things. But there are a number of things that you cannot check, I think, with any tool. Maybe there are specific tools built for some of these things that I'm going to show you now. I don't know. I quit the link building game several years ago and I'm using the Ahrefs tool, but not to check on these things because I don't have to since I'm not building links. But in case you do, you want to also check the ratio of links to your site versus mentions. So we all know what a link is, and a mention is basically when they talk about you without linking. So they're mentioning your domain name or the brand of your website. Let's say it was Go Downsize. Maybe they just put the words Go Downsize. And since this is what you can call a branded term, there's nobody else with that name out there. So when Google sees that, they know that this is somebody talking about us. So this is what we call a mention. And the ratio between whenever people link to you and they're just talking about you without putting a link around it, that's also something to keep an eye out for. It's definitely something that Google can easily pick up on. And another thing is the ratio between what we can call forum links and user-generated links, like when you get a link from a forum or Quora or Yahoo Answers or whatever, versus links from actual articles. So what we can call more the editorial content. When somebody, a journalist or another blogger or whatever, is writing an article about you and they are inserting a link there versus people linking to you from Reddit and all these user-generated sites. And another thing to keep track of is the number of comment links and the percentage of the links to your site that come from comments, like when people are commenting on blog posts and stuff like that. And also you want to keep track of social media links versus what we can call editorial links and all these other types of links. You want to make sure that you're mentioned in social media, and the list goes on and on and on. And as you can see already now, all these signals goes into this link profile.
that we can call it. All these little signals that Google picks up on. And that's one of the reasons why I don't build links to my sites anymore, because I don't want to go down that route where I will continually have to keep up to speed on trying to be one step ahead of Google, because I think you will be out for a really tough trip if you're trying to get ahead of Google in the long run. Maybe you can fool them today by building some clever links to your site. Probably not tomorrow if you ask me. So I would strongly advise you to go for a more clean SEO strategy where you're not building links, but you're just waiting for them to come to you organically. And I've shown you multiple ways you can do this on your site. Just focus on awesome content and start with underserved content so you can get that initial traction. That's how I do it. That's how I would advise you to do it. But still, there are things we can do to get those links coming natural, so to speak. And that's also something I'm talking about a lot in my course, and I'll do more videos about it also. So subscribe to my channel if you think this is interesting, because I have much more coming your way. See you guys.